So this is chapter 13, lesson 3. It's called Estimate Products. Okay, and our learning goal is to be able to estimate the products of decimals. Remind us again, what is a product? Goni?
It's an answer.
It's
an answer to a multiplication problem.
Good. A product is an answer to a multiplication problem. So today we are going to be estimating the answers of multiplication problems. And how do you think we could estimate? By doing what first to our numbers? Are we finding exact answers? No. So what do we need to do before we do the math? What do we need to do, Shelly?
No.
We're going to be doing a lot of rounding. Yes, very good. Here's our problem for today. A conductor, what's a conductor? Show me what a conductor does with your hands. Very good. Okay, you guys get it. A conductor wants to copy a rehearsal schedule for each of the 77 musicians in the orchestra. It costs 11 cents for each copy. About how much will it cost to make all the copies? Okay, do we need to find an exact answer or an estimate, and how do you know? Exact answer or estimate, and how do you know? Archie? This word about tells us that we need to find an estimate. Okay, so that we know that we don't need to find an exact answer. How many musicians are there in the orchestra? Swati? 77 musicians. And how much does it how much does it cost to make one copy? Nadia? 11 cents. So, how many copies does he need to make? Arjun? 77 copies. And each copy costs how much to make, Sawyer? 11 cents. So what math equation would we do if we were finding an exact answer? If we want to find an exact answer, which equation would we write? Jonathan? 77 times 11 cents, right? Or 11 hundredths. Good. But we don't need to find an exact answer. We just need to find an estimate. Okay, so our original, it would be 77 times 11 cents. But instead, for step 1, since we're finding an estimate, step 1 is to round the factors. So 77, can we round that to the nearest tenth? Mm-hmm. What's 77 rounded to the nearest tens, Henrik?
What's 77 hundredths?
Rounded to the nearest tens.
That's 80.
80. Good. Make sure you're writing this down in your notebook, please. Now, what should we round? 11 cents to the nearest what? What would make the most sense? What would make the most sense? Get it? Andre?
It would round to 0.
Well, if it was the ones, but would that give us an answer? Should we round to 0? What should we round to in the context of this problem?
It would be 10 cents.
The tenths, right? 11 cents is really close to 10 cents, isn't it? And is it easier to work with 10 cents than to work with 11 cents? Okay, so let's multiply this by 10 cents. So we rounded 11 tenths to the nearest tenth, right? Now can we multiply? Okay, remember when we multiply, we ignore the decimal points first. So 80 times 10. And what is 80 times 10? 80 times 10, we know this really quickly off the top of our heads. Ria? 800. Now we need to place the decimal point, don't we? So let's look. In this factor, how many numbers are there after the decimal point?
2.
In this number, how many are there after the decimal point? 0. What about in this one? In this factor, 2. So how many numbers need to be after the decimal point? 2. So 1, 2. So how much will it cost to make, cost to make all the copies? Atharva?
8.
$8. About $8. Very good. Now, we can also use estimating to check if our answer is reasonable. We were talking yesterday about how we don't know how to divide decimals yet, so we can't check our answers. Today I want to tell you that you can use estimating to check if your answer is reasonable. Okay? Now, if this is our problem, 75 hundredths times 420. How can I make sure I get an estimate that will be less than my real answer? How can I be sure that I find an estimate that will be less than my real answer? What could I do? What could I do? Andre?
Well, you just round down.
I could round down. 75 hundredths is right in between 7 tenths and 8 tenths, right? So if I round this number down to 7 tenths and make this factor smaller, will that make my final answer bigger or smaller? smaller. So to find a low estimate, I could round the factors down. So I could round 75 hundredths to what? To what? If I want to round it to the lowest tenth possible. Atharva? Nope. 7/10. Good. I could round 75 hundredths to 7/10. 420. Could I round that? Or is that a pretty easy number to work with? Should we just keep it? Okay, let's just keep it. So we could do our problem 7/10 times 420. Okay, let's do that. So, how do I multiply? What's my first step in multiplying, Sawyer? Okay, so I'll do 420. Oh man. 420 times 7. I'm going to ignore the decimal point. 7 times 0 is? 7 times 2 is? 7 times 4 is? Add the 1 is? Okay. How many numbers do I need after the decimal point? 1. Okay, so I'll put it right here. What's my answer? 294. Is 294 going to be lower or higher than my actual answer? Why is it going to be lower than my actual answer? Hemant?
Because you rounded 75 hundredths to 7/10, but you rounded the lowest.
So I made my factor lower, so my answer will be lower. Okay, what if I want to find a high estimate? How can I make sure my answer will be higher, my estimate will be higher than the actual answer? Vienna? Round up. Can we round 75 hundredths up?
Yes.
If I round it up, what will it be, Kevin?
Like 300.
If I round this factor, if I round it up, what will it be?
Oh, what do you mean? Like for the ones
In the tenths.
and the tens? 80.
80 tenths? Yeah, okay, that's 8 tenths. 80 hundredths, right? You mean?
Yeah, 80.
80 hundredths, good. So 0.8 times 420. My first step again is to ignore the decimal point times 8. 8 times 0 is? 8 times 2 is? Carry the 1. 8 times 4 is? 32 plus 1 is? Okay, how many numbers do I need after the decimal point, Sakshi? 1. Put it there. What is my high estimate then? 336. So, we can find a low estimate and a high estimate, and we know that our actual answer needs to be in between which two numbers? Which is what, Aditya?
294 and 336.
Okay, so we know when we solve this problem, we'll know if our answer is reasonable if it's in between 294 and 336. So, let's solve it for real. 75 hundredths times 420. 420 times 75, right? Okay, 0 times 5 is? You guys need to help me out. 0 times 5 is?
0.
5 times 2 is?
10.
Carry the 1. 5 times 4 is? Plus 1 is?
1.
Okay. Put the 0 here. 7 times 0 is?
0.
7 times 2 is?
14.
Carry the 1. 7 times 4 is?
28.
Plus 1 is?
29.
Okay, add these together. We get 0, 0. 1 plus 4 is?
5.
5. 2 plus 9 is?
11.
Carry the 1.
3.
3. Okay, so it's 31500 is our answer. How many numbers do we need after the decimal point?
2.
Why is it 2? Why is it 2? Swati? Let's look at our factors. How many? There's 2 here, right? How many are there here? 0, so 2 plus 0 is? 2. Okay, so I'm going to make sure there's 2. There's where the decimal point goes. My answer is 315. Is this reasonable?
Yes.
Do I know I'm on the right track? Why do I know I'm on the right track? Goni.
Because we know because we estimated that we had to have, for the exact answer, an answer between 294 and 336.
Very good.